Alexis Ortiz, Janelle, Graham. Thanks for joining. Nice to see all your faces. If you want to turn your camera on, it's always nice to kind of build community and see smiling faces. And see, look, they're smiling. Look at those smiles. Janelle, do you want to show us your smiling face today? Or no? Completely fine. We'll give it one more minute. We're in the chat. Tell us where you're from, who you are, where you're from, and how about a big win? Tell us a big win of the week. It's only Wednesday. And then keep your questions because we'll have some time for some Q&A.
I like that. Wins are always a good question.
Wins are good because we always easy to focus on the losses and the mess ups.
For sure.
Richmond, California. Nice. Little East Bay action in the house. Stash Monkey. Nice. I've heard of Stash Monkey. Transfer product is on the ship. Nice. Yeah. Awesome. Accepted to Cal Poly for bachelor's in chemical engineering.
Oh, exciting.
And then Janelle, when she's ready. We're just going to get going. For those of you that don't know me, I am Brian Chaplin, the founder of Medicine Box, with the mission to co-create human health and happiness while harmonizing our relationship with Mother Earth. And we do that through the 7-pillar wisdom of music, food, mindfulness, community, right here, collaboration with Bianca, recovery, and nature being this evolving medium that weaves it all together. And today's guest is a good friend of mine, also a collaborator, Bianca Snyder. You might know her as High Society Mama on Instagram and all that content that she puts out. I have no idea how she does it all. We're going to find out today with these questions. But Bianca is the founder of High Society Mama, a mother, movement lover, and advocate for natural wellness and plant medicine, a mom on a mission to normalize plant medicine, and the owner of a CBD hemp farm selling smokable flower with her husband out there, Tad. Maybe he'll join us if he can make it. But society's mission is to heal society with plant medicine by bringing to market artisanal products that elevate humanity. We pour love into our field, strive to work in harmony with Mother Earth, and value collaborating as a community to bring society the best of craft, diverse, and sustainable cultivation. And I had some time to read over society's vision, which I've known Bianca for a few years now, and I never read this vision, or I know of it just from knowing her, but I'd love to include that here just to kind of anchor us into the vision that we're going to be speaking around today. So society's vision, a future where society heals from clean craft plant medicine, knows who the grower is and appreciates the art of how they work with the plant, thrives from the cannabis industry working together to learn and improve, chooses businesses that prioritize their purpose over profits, values companies that leave a negative carbon footprint, has access to high quality and diverse offering of plant medicine, rebuilds a connection to our one and only home, Earth. Recreate that future by sharing these values with our customers and collaborating with businesses that share in that vision so we can create it together. This is just a plant, but not just any plant. Cannabis is society's plant. Religious or spiritual use dates back more than 5,500 years. Were early discoveries, and how synchronistic is this? Early discoveries in the Ukraine region indicate ceremonial burning of the herb in a cave. Maybe is that why Russia is invading Ukraine? I don't know. You never know about these things. Asia is considered by experts to be the place of origin of undomesticated cannabis. Hemp use dates back to the Stone Age. Hemp fiber imprints over 10,000 years old have been found in pottery shards in modern day Taiwan. When Pharaoh Ramesses was uncovered in Egypt, traces of cannabis were found in the remains. Humanity's relationship with the plant is one of a symbiotic nature, each species helping the other evolve over millennia. Today, 2 out of 3 Americans are in favor of cannabis legalization. That is a lot now. We're moving forward into bringing this into the mainstream, slow and steady, only 10,000 years later. Throughout its long history, the plant has no history of causing overdose or death. Despite the acceptance of cannabis for legalization, there's still the process of normalizing the plant. Beyond, very good choice of words here, Bianca, absurd stigma created in the last 80 years or so. We will overcome this through compassionate use, awareness, and education. We feel all of society should have the freedom to safely and mindfully use the plant in a positive way or make the educated choice not to. At the top of the list of myriad benefits of cannabis, we believe the most profound is the ability of cannabis to enlighten the populace to the healing power of plants in general, while deepening our connection to Mother Nature. So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone out there on Facebook, LinkedIn, Zoom, this great audience, this is Bianca Snyder, the founder of High Society Mama, a mother, movement lover, and advocate for natural wellness and plant medicine. Thank you, Bianca, for being here, and thanks for including that. Sometimes I skim.
I enjoyed hearing you read it.
Well, it's beautiful, right? When you hear like someone else do that, and
Right.
There's a lot of times that I will just kind of skim through and pick out, but I had a chance to read it before when I was making this beautiful cup of Earl Grey tea. Coffee and Earl Grey tea is a beautiful plant medicine for me, but very much awesome to bring the awareness and the history and just like the allure of cannabis dating back 10,000 years ago, and how it's always just kind of been this humans and the plant and culture in the plant have really evolved together in this beautiful like Venn diagram as we've evolved to where we are now. So thank you for the work you're doing.
I think that my favorite part that comes from that is that as people start using cannabis, and it's like, especially when they feel and experience those benefits, it really opens people's eyes to the concept of being healed with plants in general. So it doesn't just start like, it's not only cannabis, it's all of the plants and all of Mother Nature that's given to us, and how powerful all plants and Mother Nature is as a healing tool. And so I think that cannabis is like the entryway into that for more people. There's, a lot of us that are very conscious of what we put into our body, and that we are consuming a lot of plants for healing, but there's a lot of society that's not aware of that, and it doesn't feel that connection.
Well, so, that's part of the work that you do to remove the stigmas, is part of the work that Medicine Box does as well. I think a lot of what you do resonates with us quite a bit over here in the Medicine Box camp. So you went to Wyoming recently, right?
I did.
Tell us about your recent trip in Wyoming. How'd it go? We'll just ease into this. It's gonna be good.
Okay. We hit up 2 hot springs, one in Utah and one in Wyoming. And the one in Wyoming is Tad's absolute favorite. It's called Hobo Hot Springs, and it's a free hot spring that is ran by this community called Saratoga Springs. Very small town of, I think, 6,000 people. And they have this really cool hot spring, and you can go in the hot spring, and then there's a section of the hot spring that pumps into the river running by. So then you can get in that sort of little rocky area and jump back and forth between like the ice cold river and the hot springs. So it's a fun spot.
Love that little cold plunging. Nothing better than a little bit of water therapy, right? So how did you create High Society Mama? Like, what came first, HSM or society?
First came Tad working in the cannabis space, and I came from wine and spirits, and I
Mhm.
worked in wine and spirits as a sales manager, marketing, managing large brands across multiple regions. And I started to feel a bit disconnected from the advocacy of consuming large amounts of alcohol, because you always are pushing sales, and sales means more consumption of alcohol. And that didn't started
Mm.
to not really resonate with me anymore. And I started High Society Mama to learn more about the women in cannabis space. And so it was a niche that I knew something about. I was a new
Mhm.
mom, and so I could relate with it. And I started following a lot of the women that were in cannabis, just to like learn more about what was happening in the space. And it was some combination of, I would say, my skills and knowledge of being able to speak to that niche in a very valuable way that resonated with people, that helped me to grow my platform and become a voice for many moms
Yeah.
who don't have a voice right now
You're
due to the
definitely a
stigma.
strong voice. Yeah, you're a super strong voice. Love it.
And
That's
so
how that's how we
it
met.
started out just, exploring the space, and it really turned into more of a movement and a way that I could give back to other people. Because with High Society Mama, my goal is to help mothers to be confident in their choice to consume cannabis.
Love
So
that.
I think what the biggest obstacle for a lot of people is overcoming their self-doubt. It's not that they think that the plant is necessarily bad, it's the way that they feel
Mm.
when society judges them
Like
for using
the
it.
guilt and the shame, and you're a lousy mom, and you have children, you shouldn't be smoking that devil's lettuce and doping around, being unproductive, all the things that come from the societal conditioning. And
Yeah.
I just thought of something that I love. Saying societal conditioning made me like something clicked, where it's like you're a high society mom, or like you're elevating the societal conditioning, like you're elevating
Yeah.
it to be to a higher place, right? With the
Yeah.
pun of being high, right? Like
Exactly. I mean,
I think I just figured it
I
out.
really
Yeah.
love my name. Like
Yeah.
it really resonates on so many different levels. And it brings me joy that it does resonate in that way.
Yeah.
In so many
So
different ways.
in a recent post, you talked about coming out of the proverbial cannabis closet, and was that tricky for you, and what made you really decide to do that and like put yourself out there into the world the way you have?
I think the biggest change that happened for me was legalization in the states that I lived in. And so when that was, it's like first was medical, and it was like I was started to be more comfortable, but I still wasn't entirely like showing my face. I I would here and there, but it just wasn't that much. And so when legalization hit, that was definitely a turning point in my confidence to be comfortable with showing myself.
Mhm.
And I really like to reiterate that, like, being confident in using cannabis is something that's inside of you, and it's not something that's shown by being on social media. Being on
Yeah.
social media and being open about your cannabis use is a choice to advocate for the plant, but it is not a representation of your internal confidence.
Right.
So I really like feel that like mothers should know that you can be you can be an advocate without being open on social media, and you most definitely can be confident in your choice to consume without
Right.
being open on social media. It's just that I've reached the point that I need to, because I'm
Yeah.
of service to other people.
So it's like that external environment, but your internal environment is even more important. And
Much more
there,
important.
there's a nuance there, and we can get disconnected from that because of the noise of media. And this one thing that we say here at Medicine Box is like there's a digital onslaught of media happening all day, every day, 24/7, and it's up to you what you choose to consume and how that external environment is affecting your internal environment. So good nuance there. I like that. And
yeah, and I mean, I think that's really important to note, because how it's like you could show yourself on social media consuming, but then still have shame. And that's much more of a disservice than just finding that inner confidence and not being out on
right.
social.
We
So,
could plant a flag there and come back to that inner confidence and all that, and like the shame cycles and the doubt and all of that. I think that's super potent because it has to come from an authentic place, and doing what you're doing is very authentic, and especially when you're representing this community of moms, right, and helping them, it's being of service. And so you're selling CBD hemp, or CBD derived from the hemp plant rather than THC. Why is that? I mean, I know why, but for everyone else out there, that the laws and regulations and state by state, it's very variable everywhere.
yeah, so I really was not that familiar with specifically smoking CBD. And we weren't really doing much with it. My husband is a permaculture certified, so we did some, gardening projects and whatnot on the farm. But when the 2018 Farm Bill passed and Michigan came out with their pilot program, we started growing hemp specifically for smokable flower. And the reason we did that was because there were so many tinctures coming out, and the benefits of smoking it vary dramatically from just using it as a tincture. And I kind of knew that. And I was like, there's a position here we can go after. I think that we should explore it. But I hadn't personally experienced it. And the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden I was at home. I was waking up with panic attacks. My anxiety was so bad. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm getting woken up in the morning from my anxiety. Not because I'm awake. It's because I'm like heart's racing anxiety. And I was like, this is crazy. I have more CBD in my house than anyone I know. Why am I not consuming massive amounts of this? And so that's when I started really exploring the different strains that we had, and trying to smoke it in different times of the day, and playing with the ratios with THC and CBD. And I was like, this really works. This is like instant relief, and more moms need to know about this. And so it took me some time to really get comfortable and figure out how I was speaking to people about the plant. But now I've really gotten to dig in on that and explore it. And I see so much value, especially for mothers, because moms are looking for different methods to consume than maybe your average single person THC smoker. There's a lot of moms that are looking to explore natural remedies, natural medicines for their stress relief, their anxiety, helping for them to get more restful sleep. And so that's where these products that I think really touch on these different pain points for moms are very valuable. And, you know, using your tincture for sleep has all of these, I mean, you can explain it better, but it's like really meant to bring your body back into homeostasis and like help you get that restful sleep. So even if you're a mom that's not able to sleep as much as we want, getting that better sleep is important. Or if we have anxiety and we're really like strung out and we don't want to be snapping at our kids, then smoking CBD gives us that instant relief. So it's trying to figure out like, how do these different products benefit mothers, and trying to, you know, spread the word and normalize it so that they have access to know what is a good quality product. Because obviously this industry is ridden with really
Terrible
low quality,
products.
white labeled junk.
Garbage, I'll say.
Yeah.
Trash, garbage, glut
Deceptive
of
marketing. You know, some products don't even have any CBD in it.
Yeah. You know, the other thing too, clearly I'm not a mom. I don't have children. I have a lot of friends that are moms and have children as well. But finding that relief with the use of hemp flower CBD, it's more accessible too than THC. And it's that nice little that kind of a gentler way of consuming, where you're not going to get like psychologically, you know, in that psychoactive state. And I'd imagine too that many of the moms may have curbed down their alcohol usage, or, you know, a lot of my mom friends, you know, they love their Chardonnay. I have probably 5 Lady Chardonnay mom friends. I call them Lady Chardonnay. You know, it's like, that's what they go to because it's been socially accepted, right? And part of your, you know, your entryway into high society mama was coming from that, you know, massive big alcohol, right? Big alcohol, big tobacco, big pharma. I mean, this military industrial complex that conditions us all. So I'd like to think, as a recovering alcoholic, that what the work that you're doing is helping reduce alcohol consumption and get some of these moms out of, not that they're bad people, right? Get them out of maybe that loop of, oh, I'm drinking because I'm drinking 3 glasses of wine now when it used to be 1. And now I'm, you know, I want to curb that because that gets in a vicious loop too. You get anxiety from all the sugar and the metabolizing of alcohol. So
I mean, I'll have one
insight.
glass of wine and my anxiety goes through the roof the next day. You don't think about it while you're like, all you're thinking about when you're consuming 1 glass is, I'm in the social setting. It tastes delightful for this to go with this appetizer, and I'm with friends and they're all pouring a glass. So why don't I just have 1 glass? And then I have the glass and I feel fine the next day. 1 glass of wine is not going to cause a hangover, until I realize that I'm like, what am I so anxious about? And then I'm like, had that glass of wine last night.
Yeah.
And we are so numb as a society, like, unless you've been doing a massive amount of work to ensure that your body is high functioning and only getting really clean ingredients and, you know, free of all of these toxins, then you don't realize when you put a toxin into your body how much havoc it's causing, because you're just your baseline is at this toxic state anyway. Yeah.
So you're a mom.
So what I love about CBD specifically is it's this like great in-between point where you can introduce it to someone and maybe they're not comfortable with smoking yet. Okay, so then let's start with a CBD tincture to try to, or CBD soft gels, or some of these more, you know, herbal formulated remedies that can work synergistically to help you get a little bit of relief. Like, okay, I'm comfortable with that. Now I can move on to I can smoke and I can get instant relief. Okay, now I'm comfortable with that because I'm not getting super intoxicated. I'm still under control. Maybe I want to try something a little bit more. And now I'll bring a little bit of THC in to mix with my CBD flower. I'm still not getting so stoned that I'm not able to parent. I'm not able to, do all of the things that I want to be very clear-headed for. But it's this segue into plant medicine and exploring other things. It's like you kind of have to like peel back the onion.
The in between and not going like straight into the proverbial deep end. So you're a mom, yes, and you have a son. How old is your son again?
My son is 6.
6, right? Yes. And how have you educated your son around cannabis use? I mean, he's like in your photos, he's pretty active on the High Society Mama Instagram profile. I think that's amazing. He's at the farm. He's a big part of your brand. So how have you kind of educated and ushered him into the work that you and Tad are doing?
Well, I think it's important first that they understand that this product is a plant and it's safe to be around as a plant. It's growing just like all the other plants, and it has healing benefits just like many other plants. And just starting from that baseline, then he knows all of cannabis as hemp. That was just the first word that he learned. If he sees a leaf, I mean, this is in the background of his Kung Fu class every day. And then, he can, from when he was like 3, he was like hemp leaf, like billboard hemp leaf, like, oh, look, mom, you're wearing your hemp pants, because they would have like, leaves on it. And so he definitely from an early age was able to identify it. And we allow him to see the products in its finished form, see us grind the flower, see us roll a joint. And it's not something that we hide from him. We don't hotbox any rooms with him. So that's usually the first place that people's heads go to, is that like, oh, you can't smoke in front of a child. You can separate yourself from them, but not hide from them. And so, and from the earliest age that you can expose them to the plant, the easier it gets to continue to educate them, because then they know the door is open. They know they can ask questions, and you're going to do your best to answer it. And like, I think the hardest question that I got asked was, he was 4, and I had a good guy friend over that's like his uncle. And we were rolling a couple of joints, and I pull out the tray and grinding it up. And he goes, Mom, I can do this. And I'm like, but you can't. I can't let you do that. I know that I bet you could, but it's just not appropriate. And he goes, why? And I was like, I'm not ready to answer this question. I'm not prepared for this. Like it totally caught me off guard. But there's like, as a parent, you have to choose where you draw the line. Like, he's allowed to play with the plants and run through the plants. He can grab hemp leaves, wave them around, put them in his mouth if he wants. I know where the safety line is drawn, and having a 4-year-old roll a joint is not part of that safety plan.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can do to like anticipate what their questions are going to be, but the best that you can do is do your best to answer them in a way that educates them and is age appropriate.
Right.
There's a lot of great books on
the childlike
well.
wonder. Yeah, that childlike wonder when you never expect it, and putting up the proper boundaries. And that sometimes I don't know how to answer that yet, but no.
Right. And like, there's like the safety precautions that like I've made locking bags that are stash cases, so that moms can have like an on the go bag that allows them to like lock up their goods. And
That's
I
awesome.
use them all the time. I use them for more than just keep it products away from my kids. I use them when I'm traveling or if I'm driving. And because you can't be too safe when it comes to children. I definitely believe that. But there's a difference between being safe and being like neurotically overly cautious and sheltering them from the realities of the world.
There's a balance.
So, yeah.
Definitely a balance. So you mentioned an issue around the personality influencer, the Hollywood hippie, I think she goes by, and issues she faced going out as a cannabis mom. And how have you been able to navigate that and like be out, right? She faced issues. We kind of touched on this earlier, but
yeah.
and you've navigated like as proud and open and just owning it as you are, that internal environment too, I'm sure helps.
The legal system is not as forgiving to parents as they are to just an individual. You have issues with like if you're going through a divorce or a custody battle, you face a whole different set of potential issues with your consumption. Even in California, I've heard of numerous mothers that have had issues with there's the issue of getting drug tested during pregnancy and then having CPS, Child Protective Services, show up to monitor or check in on your newborn baby, which is honestly more stress from Child Protective Services on like your body and your family unit than it is actually damaging to your unborn baby by consuming cannabis. Like the bigger threat is the mental stability of the mother that comes from Child Protective Services stepping in than the actual damage that could have possibly been done from the plant from consuming. So that's one area that is very challenging to navigate. While I am not opposed to people consuming during pregnancy if they need to, I definitely advise people to use caution because it can cause a lot of unnecessary stress in your life, especially as a mom. So then there's later in life issues of if any family members report you to Child Protective Services because they don't agree with your consumption or they don't agree with the way that you don't lock up your products, or if you are open with your children about it, and that can also cause a lot of issues. And then further down the line, if you're going through a divorce, I've heard numerous times of people getting being challenged in court for custody over their consumption. So those are like the 3 times that I really advise people to use caution, lock up your products. If you're in a not legal state, maybe like it might be a time that you need to take a break while you're going through something. So it's
proceed with caution.
Yeah, it's a complex topic, but I just always like to be forthcoming that like it is a possibility and you need to be ready for it.
Well, it's still a lot of stigma around it all, and it's been used as a tool of propaganda for 100 years, and we're still kind of unraveling that with acceptance. And not everyone has the belief structures that we do, and not everyone is able to even start. Like where do they bring that awareness, and where do they start on that? And it's unfortunate that we use that people still use the plant to propagandize each other and fill prison systems with unnecessary inmates, and that's a whole other conversation. But Actually, that probably a good segue into the next question is you're particularly engaged with social equity issues with your work, such as on the Clubhouse panel that you're on recently. And how can high society mamas show up for each other better in this way?
Oh, that was an extra little bit on how can we show up better for each other. I definitely try to give other people the mic to, I am exceptionally privileged. I know that I have a lot more confidence in my choice to openly talk about my consumption of cannabis due to the fact that I'm a white woman. Like that right there is like puts me ahead of a lot of Black moms in terms of being targeted for cannabis use. Again, this goes back to just like that pregnancy issue of Black mothers are getting drug tested at dramatically higher rates than white mothers. Black mothers die during childbirth at, I should know this number, but it's so unnerving how much more of a higher rate. And so it's important that we have people talking about this topic and making people aware of the issues around Black mothers getting targeted specifically, but then also for them to hear it from other mothers that are advocates in this space. And so I started High Society of Mamas as a platform to build community and allow a space to share other people's advocacy work so that everything is not just coming from me. I have, a much more diverse group of women than what I individually represent.
It's smart, inclusive of you. Yeah. So
and it's a challenging space because within the cannabis industry, we know that the war on drugs definitely disproportionately affected Black people more so than white that are in prison for cannabis, and especially minor non-violent drug charges. Mm-hmm. And so I think it is in part our responsibility to make sure that we are opening the opportunities for a more diverse group of people to be able to become business owners in the cannabis space, not just working in the cannabis space.
Right. And participate and bring a level of diverse society and culture and different ways of viewing the plant. And that's what this like industry needs. I use the quote fingers industry because I'm not so sure it's an industry. I don't like thinking of it as an industry because that just kind of negates it to this like industrialized kind of form of commodities. Right. But definitely need all people sitting at the table. And what's going on with the store and your products that you'd like to remind people of? You showed some cool bags. I've seen all your products. Yeah. Love them. Your branding's amazing. There's always something new in the pipeline. Yeah.
Yes. So I push our smokable flower a lot. And because it is craft, we only grow on less than an acre. So all of our plants that we grow in the same way that we would care for our indoor THC plants. But I found that because people are mixing their CBD flower with THC flower a lot, so we do sell full buds of flower in our sort of craft bags. There we go. But I created the ready to roll product that is pre-ground, and I find that people really enjoy it because they can just scoop the like pre-ground in with their THC and not have to have two grinders. I did it because I was getting annoyed that I was like having to grind two things for just to like put together a bowl. I was like, this is so
Well, you just have your son do that, right?
put him to work.
Just like you got the CBD grinder, I get the THC one. Ready, set, go.
Right. I mean, obviously he'd be happy to do that, but so I really love our ready to roll product. And I've really been enjoying our CBDA raw soft gels. I've been playing with those more and really liking that for a easy way to add them into my like daily supplements, like with my pills. I just think swallowing a pill for some reason is just easier than taking that tincture.
Well, not to talk about medicine box, but
yeah, do it.
We converted tinctures into soft gels because of exactly what you just said. It's just ease of use. You can put it in your, daily supplement routine, your vitamins. And I mean, Americans, let's just face it, we love our pills. We love to just boop, swallow it down, good to go. Don't have to think about it. And the ease of use and having a much more like titratable dose, like a repeatable, consistent dose. And I like to think of these cannabinoids, Bianca, CBD, CBDA, the whole suite of cannabinoids, and we're still discovering more as essential vitamins. They're plant compounds, right? When you like really look beneath the plant and what's inside that flower, they're vitamins. And eventually, I think the industry, for lack of a better word, will move towards that like nutraceutical space. Just like, herbs, it's like chamomile. Why does chamomile make you sleep? Why does lavender make you soothing? It's the linalool in there. It's the rosaramic acid and the terpenes. And we don't think of that because we associate with the plant, but there's this beautiful suite of just amazingness in there that, we're still discovering. So I'm super excited about that. And to hear that high society is looking and exploring other rare cannabinoids. What about CBG? I think we've talked about that before. CBG is a fascinating cannabinoid.
CBG, and we haven't done anything with it. And so it's just got kind of stuck in our backlog. I definitely need to put it out as a smokable product. And we haven't added any like standalone CBG products. But I do enjoy how much Medicine Box spends time covering all the cannabinoids and also the terpene breakdown and using the additional herbs to supplement. And, that synergistic effect is really what's fascinating beyond just like looking at, okay, I'm just taking a CBD or CBG or CBN product. It's like, no, I'm taking this cannabinoid that's combined with these other herbs and ingredients to really make a unique product that has this much more effective efficacy that it like makes the product stand out and differentiate them from just the people smacking, CBD
great
on
word
label.
Differentiator, great word. I've been exploring that in Medicine Box, how to differentiate products and service and the brand from what I call the just CBD marketplace, or you touched on it, that like white label. Anyone can go and find a white label manufacturer and slap a label on it, right? And it's like, where's that grown? I want to know where that CBD was grown from, and a lot of it was getting imported from China in bales of industrialized hemp. And it's like everything, the stalk, the roots, the leaves, and So be discerning with your choices out there, customers, and look into great products and know where it's grown. If you can, know the name of your farmer, even better, right?
Yeah.
I think an old horticulturist taught me once that the best piece of equipment as a farmer on your farm is the farmer's shadow. So think about that, right? It's like you
That's
mentioned
interesting.
craft, artisanal, less than 1 acre. It's going to have a personal touch to it. That these people care for the way it's grown. And I'd like to know about, you mentioned Tad has a permaculture certification.
Yeah.
So does
So
he use
we apply
permaculture
that.
techniques on the farm? And
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
So in our field, we do not have any plastic. Well, I take that back. There's probably some plastic components in the drip irrigation, but we do not use any plastic cover for weed mitigation. We use all sort of cover crops and companion plants, and we use a lot of clover and it's been a while since I've been out there, so I don't know what else is there, but we have a lot of radishes.
yay.
There's more. And I was like trying to like pick them at the end of the year because they're like this big, and I was like, I want to grab one. He's like, you're taking my nitrogen. I was like, oh. I was like, I'll carry it back down. He's like, just take it. He's like, those aren't the eating ones. Those are for the field. I'm like, but it's so big.
Yeah, big old radishes. Like
So,
thinly sliced into that nice green salad. It's the best.
I mean,
That's great.
Way more radishes than I would ever know what to do with. But I mean, it's all about when we bought our property, it was like there had been like animals on the property, and there was like no grass growing. It was like just like dead sandy soil, and so now it's been all changed over to very fertile,
Revitalized,
amazing soil. Yeah. And we used coffee bags, burlap bags, that have all sort of like disintegrated into for our first year for the weed management, and until we got all the plants, and now it just is covered in plants that are intentional, not grass. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love the 12 principles of permaculture. I won't go through all of them, but working with nature, not against it, is one of my favorites. And it's a great like daily mantra, right? We can't change the weather, right? We can work with it. So just like plants and being a good farmer out there. So big question.
But there's so few brands that like, I think what really sort of sets us apart is it's like, not only do you have like an inside look at our field and our plants and our, where we're growing it, but there's also a closer look that you can get at who's growing it. And, so my husband's High Society Papa on Instagram, and he has his own page that you can dive into, or Society's Plant. I'm always doing tours of the field, and so it's different than when you're buying a product that is just a standard. You're buying just who knows where it came from, and who knows who grew it, and who knows what method they used. It's like we try to be very transparent about that, and I think there's not that many people that are putting themselves out there in that way. And you're very good at it as well. Like, you live the principles of Medicine Box. You show it on your social media. You talk to people about it, and you're not just smacking a brand up there with a few buzzwords. You're showing that you're living that life. And that is the examples that we need in the space. And that's also what inspires people to want to use your products and live closer to that same, lifestyle.
And that gets you back to that, harmonizing with Mother Earth. That's part of your mission too. It's part of our mission is that, right? That's I think a great place to talk about, because if you're living those values, the 12 principles of permaculture is not just like being like hands in the soil. You can apply these to your personal life and your value systems. And it's a much slower and steadier process. We've had many sidebar conversations and traded war stories, many times. And I was just talking to a very profound attorney in LA that works with plant medicines and the psychedelic space. And the whole people, planet, profits came up, and part of the work that she's doing is really pushing these value systems into regulations with SB 519, which is the Decrim Nature movement in California, but actually having that written into the law with with sustainable packaging, no use of plastics. And we've seen that just be a complete disaster, really, in the cannabis marketplace here in California. And Prop 64 says plastic, and it's hard to get behind as a business owner, right, when you're trying to do the right thing. So
I love this package.
Oh yeah, that's Medicine Box. That's been rebranded a little bit with a new logo, but that's a 100% compostable package. Here, let me show you something real quick.
Yeah. I like the compost me that it says on there.
So this is a cutting from my pothos plant. You can see that. Can you see the top?
Uh-huh.
So that's that package, and I just put the little cutting in there. And it's like, you could use those as a clone bag. Remember the old school clone bags?
Yeah.
But this just, I just put it on my kitchen counter and would just water it, and then I transplanted it, and then this bag will just compost right into the soil.
So, that's so great.
Yeah. So that
speaking
I did
of
a little video.
Sustainable packaging, I just want to show this to you. So this is Life Elements, and I love their they make wonderful bath bombs, but so this is their new bath bomb packaging, and they had a mushroom kit grown. So this is like a mushroom compostable package, and it's been
very cool.
Yeah. So it holds their bath bomb instead of being in the whole thing is compostable. I'm like, yes, that is we need everyone doing that.
Everybody. Well, I'm glad we're at the leading edge of that, right? And pushing it out there. So, there's plenty of people that are doing it, but in the cannabis hemp world, I was on a panel for at a packaging conference, and talking about my sustainable packaging with this big CEO of a mega cannabis company. And he says, well, Brian, I have, and this is in front of 50 packagers, right? That make packaging and packaging engineers. And he said, I have every month I have overhead and I have bills to pay.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I said, and he's like, so spending an extra 10-12% on packaging doesn't make sense to me. And I looked at him and I said, every month I have overhead and bills to pay as well. But why wouldn't you do that as a leader in the industry? So people catch on. And I understand the bottom line, but is it always all about the bottom line? Who knows? But I think doing the right thing is just doing the right thing. And
it really
eventually
is.
it catches on.
It's in the beginning, there's plenty of, you have to get started somewhere. And so I always have some compassion for startups and where they stand, and, the tough decisions that they have to make to just get their business started. But once you're up and running and you're innovating and you're coming out with new things, to not have that in your decision-making process is, at this point, with our knowledge of where the earth stands, and if you're doing sizable quantities, then you're just being a irresponsible business owner and a irresponsible steward of the earth.
Yep, I appreciate that candidness. I'm going to lump together two questions in one, and then I want to open it up for any questions from the audience here. Just a fun one here. Could you imagine working with plant medicines like ayahuasca or psilocybin in the future? And what sorts of products could you imagine creating with them? And then kind of combination to that is, if you could work with any of these plant medicines and you can't at the moment because you can't grow it in the Michigan climate or another, what would it be? A fully loaded question. Answer it however you may feel.
I think psilocybin is definitely high on the horizon of acceptance and of viableness. So I definitely think that is like, one of the next moves. We both have products that utilize mushrooms already. And so it is, that is just one step slightly farther from what both of us are already doing and exploring mushrooms and cannabis and how we can combine them together. And, I definitely, mushrooms fall in such easy alignment with approachable plant medicines. That I think that one is like the first stepping stone to healing trauma with psychedelics, which I think is, we definitely underestimate the amount of trauma that people have experienced. I always like when different states start their medical program and they put PTSD in as one of their medical uses for cannabis, because it opens the door for pretty much anyone. Right. Everyone's had some kind of trauma in their life.
Sure thing.
I mean, if you haven't, I question if you're even living your life. Like,
are you
there's
living?
something that has happened to you. There's something that's triggering. And for some people, it's like, you don't realize your triggers unless you are used to digging in on it. Like, something just made me, something that you said or something that happened just made me really uneasy. What is it? And then it's like, you think back to that one time that something happened and it really hurt you, and you're holding on to that trauma and you're carrying it forward with you. And so I really am excited for what the future holds of that. And, then the next horizons beyond that, would be DMT or ayahuasca. And I think, the approachableness of those gets a little bit more complex, because you definitely need a real guide for ayahuasca to get the most out of it, versus, psilocybin could be used as a, sort of individual, just take it and cry if you need, or, you're in the safe, you can be in the safe space of your own home and, work through some of those things on your own without
a little more gentle. And then there's the integration part of it all too. And so let's open up for any questions. If anyone has any questions, Ellie, Patrick, Wayne, Alexis, and usually I have you all write it in the chat, but since it's such a small group today, we can just fire away and unmute yourself if you have questions. Who would like to go?
I'll go first. This question's for Bianca. So what other medical benefits have you experienced or have you visually seen other people experience from using hemp or cannabis?
Yeah. So I we're this weekend, we're discussing women's wellness on our clubhouse. And so I've had a lot of people use it for migraines, as well as nausea. And I think that I've really started gearing people towards trying particularly CBDA for nausea symptoms, because if they are pregnant, then it's not as questionable as THC is. And so I think a lot of people have it like that, they have what they use THC for, and they don't really realize that, that hemp can provide those same benefits. And so there's definitely, a distinction, because you're going to be feeling that psychedelic high, or, from THC, and psychedelic wasn't quite the right word, but versus hemp. And so I think it's always worth exploring, because you do start to like build up a tolerance to THC, and it's Brian is recovering from addiction, and I know addiction to alcohol, and I always start to wonder how dependent are we becoming on the plant? Like, are we using it as a crutch to not feel anymore and not work through those things? And so that's where I really think that I have this appreciation for hemp, because it is a much more subtle experience. But my anxiety has turned around from, specifically, I added CBDA, and again, I got like that propulsion of benefits that just like washed over me, and I was like, why haven't I been using this before? And I was going through a really tough time recently, and it got me from being like non-functional funk to like back on my game. And so that my anxiety is just like my continuous battle, but yeah, so overall reducing inflammation, and everything associated with that. So
Awesome, thank you.
To follow up with that, there's a survey that I read recently. I think they interviewed 14,200 people, and 84% of respondees who use CBD use it for stress management, self-perceived anxiety, and sleep. 84%.
Where was that survey posted?
That was on, I will find it, Elena, make sure I find that. So when we rebroadcast this to the email, Alexis has that survey. It's an actual data group. I'll get it for you. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I have it somewhere written down in my notes. Yeah. But it's pretty astonishing. And I can actually find the original survey for you as well and put it in the notes. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have any? I mean, is it Janelle? Did I say that right? She's just like momming over there the whole time. Are you friends with Bianca?
Yes, I'm friends with Bianca.
I had a sneaking suspicion you might be. Do you have any questions or?
Oh, I'm sorry, my daughter's yelling at me.
It's all right.
Oh, you dropped it. What did you say?
It's okay. She's yelling. Do you have any questions or input or anything?
I'm here
We're just here to.
Bianca. I'm here to listen. I'm a big advocate for cannabis education, and especially around mothers. And I'm a proud high society mama, and just am all about everything Bianca stands for and her company and mission. And so when I have an opportunity to show up and be there for the community, I do what I can.
And Janelle's been out to our farm.
Cool.
Yes. I had the privilege, my family and I stayed there for a few months over the summer, and it was an amazing opportunity. And I've been a cannabis consumer for 25 years, which is wild to say because I don't feel that old. I started at a very young age, and I've always appreciated cannabis and CBD, but never really understood why you would smoke it. And so going to the farm and seeing how they cultivate and care for their crops and why smokable hemp matters and utilizing it, I'm a big fan of it now. And so if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend you do, because I didn't see the point. Like, why would you want to smoke something that's not going to get you high? Like, half the fun is getting high. Even though I used it medicinally, I was like, well, I want to feel high. But it gives you such a different feeling that you're like, oh, that's actually what I wanted. Sometimes you're like, I actually didn't want to feel high. I just wanted to feel calmer or more grounded or more rooted or, relaxed and not have the same psychoactive effects. Especially being a mom, being able to feel more present and not clouded is really important. When we're utilizing medicine, we don't want to feel detached or not capable. So having something like the CBD, the smokable CBD from Society's plant is amazing. It's been a real game changer for me. And I'm a little distracted. I have a frozen popsicle in my hand that my baby's.
All right. Well, that's it.
Thanks for being here, Janelle.
That's a great testimonial. We have this recorded, so we could make a fun video for you, Bianca, on that. Does anyone else have any questions before we go? I know we went over. Thank you all for your undivided attention today. And Bianca, thank you so much for joining us from Michigan.
Absolutely.
Are you in Michigan?
Yes,
You're in Michigan right now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know sometimes you're in Chicago. So, and looking forward to seeing you and Tad soon in the near future, either over here in Tahoe or us over there on the farm, and continuing our collaborations together and just spreading the great gospel of plant medicine and the value systems that we both so passionately infuse into our brand. So it's been a lot of fun. And for everyone that's still here, we are going to send out this the whole full-length video of recording. We'll have some fun content pieces. And Medicine Box, we do this once a month, and we have some previous ones. 2 weeks ago, we interviewed a woman from the Last Prisoner Project, so we touched on a lot of the prison reform and social justice issues with the Black and brown community that are used to fill the prison systems, unfortunately. Very powerful conversation there, so we'll have that link in there, and just stay tuned for these fun conversations. Never know what I and my team have up our sleeve for fun guests to come on. And I'll finish by saying that we not only brought Bianca on in March because of High Society Mama and all the great work that she's doing, but March is International Women's Month, and we feel that any type of month that's dedicated to like Earth Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, Veterans Day, it should just, why does it have to be one day or 1 month? It should just be all the time. So we wanted to do this in celebration of that as well. So from the bottom of our hearts to your hearts, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right.
I always enjoy catching up with you, Brian, and I love
Bianca.
what Medicine Box has been up to. So
appreciate it. Thanks so much. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks.